Hi everyone, I am a Ritika, MCom final from MPM Government First Grade College, Karkala. Now I am going to explain International Fischer Effect. This is a topic under the International Financial Management. Introduction. The Fischer's effect is an economic theory proposed by economist Irving Fischer in the year 1930. The Fischer effect describes the relationship between inflation and both real and nominal interest rates. It is based on present and future risk-free nominal interest rates rather than pure inflation, and it is used to predict and understand present and future and currency price movement. The Fischer effect, this model, uses the interest rates rather than the inflation rates to explain why the rates changes over the time. Fischer's effect. The Fischer's effect states that whenever an investor thinks of an investment, he is interested in particular nominal interest rate which covers both the expected inflation and the required real interest rates. Here the nominal interest rate exists the contrast of both real interest rates and effective interest rates. So real interest rates tend to be important for the investors and the lenders, while effective rates are significant for the borrowers as well as investors and lenders. And the next assumption of the International Fischer effect. On an international level, the Fischer's model assumes that the real rates requirement is similar across the major industrial countries. This theory seems that the concept that real interest rates are independent of other monetary variables such as changes in nations' monetary policy and provide a better indication of the health of a particular currency within the global market. For that reason, real rates requirements is similar across the major countries. And second one, any observed market interest rate differences between countries according to this model is accounted for on the basis of differences in inflation expectation. For example, in a US, for 1 year, the interest rate is 5%. In UK, for 1 year, the interest rate is 7%. Here, the expected rate of inflation is 2%. 2% over the next 12 months. Here the UK is higher compared to the US. Next, changes in spot exchange rates are related to differences in market interest rates between countries because of differences in interest rates which reflected the differences in expected inflation, which in turn affected the exchange rates. Fourth one, currencies of high interest rates countries will weaken because these countries have high inflationary expectation. When the nations with a high interest rate which will experience a depreciation in the value of their currencies. Next one, currencies of low interest rate countries will strengthen because these countries have low expectations. When the countries with a low interest rate which will experience a lower level of inflation, which will result increases in the real value of the currency when compared to other nations. And next, practical use of International Fischer effect. Here this model is not suitable for the short-term forecasting because this model is used for the long term because here the long-term interest rate to explain the why the exchange rates changes over the time. For that reason, this theory is not suitable for short-term forecasting. Second one, work better for the long term, and this regard appear to be good indicator of the long trend in the exchange rate. Here when the exchange rate is relatively high, in that time inflation of currencies will exhibit the long-term depreciation. When exchange rate is relatively low, in that time inflation of currencies exhibit long-term appreciation. Likewise, when the exchange rate is relatively high, in that time interest rate exhibit the long-term depreciation. When it was low, in that time interest rate exhibit long-term appreciation. Next one, problematic issues regarding the international Fischer effect. In that first one, user relies in the market interest rate data to proxy for the future inflation. Here the market interest rate is not a constant or a fixed. It may be changes in a future, so it creates the problems for the future inflation. Next one, however, our real rates are similar across the countries. And next one, do the real rates are changes over the time? It not a same, it may variable at the time. It may be variable in the futures. And next one, inflationary expectation during the forecasted origin are subject to change. And why the international Fischer effect does not occur? Since the international Fischer effect is based on purchasing power parity, it will not hold when purchasing power parity does not hold. Here this international Fischer effect theory is based on the purchasing power parity theory. When the purchasing power parity does not hold, in that time international Fischer effect does not occur. In a particular, if there is a factor other than inflation that affects exchange rate may not adjust in accordance with the inflation differential. Next, the comparison of three theories, that is interest rate parity theory, purchasing power parity theory, and international Fischer effect theory. In that first one, interest rate parity theory. In that theory, the key variables are forward rate, premium in the interest differential. The interest rate parity theory means here the interest rate differential between the two countries is equal to the differential between the forward exchange rate and spot exchange rate. This theory plays an essential role in foreign exchange market, which is connecting the interest rates, spot exchange rates, and foreign exchange rates. And next theory is purchasing power parity theory. Here the key variable is percentage changes in spot exchange rate in inflation rate differential. Purchasing power parity, which explains the relationship between inflation and spot exchange rates. This theory is based on the relative rates of the inflation between two countries as the determinant of the spot exchange rate. And next theory is international Fischer effect theory. Here the key variable of this theory is percentage changes in spot exchange rate and interest rate differential. And this theory is based on relative rates of interest between two countries as a determinant of spot exchange rates. At last, conclusion. International Fischer effect is based on expected changes in current exchange rate between any two currencies is approximately equivalent to the differences between two countries' nominal interest rate for that time. This theory is based on purchasing power parity theory. Thank you for listening and watching this video.